All-Star draft stuff on Monday. Obviously, Cade's profile has kind of grown in the last few weeks, but you wanted to give one last lobby or kind of push for why he deserves it. Just what kind of personifies his role with this team this season?
I think it's you'd like to paint a total picture of who Cade is. I think a lot of times when you see guys have great seasons, they do a really good job of having an individual great season. If you look at this team, Cade is having a great season, but he's also uplifting others around him to have a great season. He didn't have to take from anybody else, and more so he poured into everybody else. So not only having his own numbers, having career years, but helping to aid other players and getting better individually, and then being the glue that's helped a team get better. The numbers speak for themselves. His ability, again, we go back and we talk about it, to be a two-way guy. Like, we put him on other teams' best perimeter players and then ask him to carry that burden, to impact the game on a defensive way, rebounding the basketball as well, assist, scoring, like improvement, and then, being a hell of a human being. Like, if you want to personify in this league, wants to highlight, those type of people, like, Cade fits the bill hands down. Is that good enough?
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been about 2 weeks now since the Jaden Ivey injury. Can you just speak to how the team has managed to weather that, both on the floor and in the larger sense?
Obviously, we miss J.I. a ton. And it's, again, we try not to make this just a business of basketball here. So we miss J.I. as a person, first and foremost. He's been able to come around a little bit more the past couple days, pushing around on his little scooter. But so that's been good for the group to be able to see him. His spirits around the group have been really good. On the floor, it's just more about, guys getting opportunities, and we're confident in what those guys are capable of doing. There's a depth to this team. It's different, than when J.I. is out there, but we don't ask anybody to be J.I. When Asar's filled in that role, like, we just want Asar to be the best version of himself, and he helps us in different ways and just makes us a little bit different, so it's not going to ever be, this guy is replaceable. It's this guy gets an opportunity to play in his positions of strength and see him impact the team. And it's been, Wendell, it's been Sass, it's been Bees, it's been Asar. It just hasn't been one guy that's had to fill that spot. And that's the only way we were going to be able to do it.
JP, when you were playing those in-season tournament games, you hope that experience would pay dividends for you down the stretch later in the season. Is this one of those nights you can rely on some of that experience gained in a game like this?
Yeah, I think, at the 41 game mark, we're still trying to worry about ourselves and progress that way. So no matter the opponent, and we do understand, the ramifications of this game and those types of things, but like, our focus is still on how can we be the best that we can be. And we're building to a point where, you hope that when you're your best, that's better than everybody else. So that's our focus, is like, that's the mindset, is how do we go out, play Detroit Pistons basketball for 48 minutes at a high level, and then see what the opponent does and what they're capable of. So instead of, at this point, worrying about that singular game, it's more a message of, let's go be ourselves. Let's go execute that and see how we hold up at the end.
Coach, how do you think your philosophy, halfway through the season, has gotten the best out of Isaiah Stewart and Dylan Durner? I remember during training camp, he was talking about how, it was like what you were asking them to do is a little bit different from what they was doing in previous years.
They are the anchor of our defense. And they are the most important piece of our defense. And that's something that you have to embrace, because it's not easy. There's a lot of responsibility that comes from that. You're the guy that has to clean up everybody else's mess. You're the guy that's got to communicate the most. You're the guy that has to win in the trenches more than anybody else. You're the guy that has to do multiple things on every single possession. Like, you don't get possessions off. And then you have to contest challenge shots and get rebounds. So there's a ton of pressure that we put on them. on the defensive end of the floor, and they both embraced it. You know what I mean? Like in their own different times and different ways, because they're not the same player either. They've had, their successes and impacted winning basketball games for us. And then on the offensive end of the floor, they've embraced a difficult role. They're the guys that really have to cover 94 feet, right? A lot of the guys, can play 3-point line to 3-point line. But in order for this to work for us, like they have to cover 94 feet. They have to cover 94 feet with force. They have to be physical. They have to set screens. You know what I mean? Like nobody talks about how many guys JD and Stu have gotten open, right? They talk about, the percentage that Bees is shooting and how Cade is doing this and, all those things. But those guys don't get open if JD and Stu aren't the guys, setting those screens for them to get them open. And again, without complaining, without begging for more, they just go out and do it over and over again. So, again, credit to them for buying in to being a part of this and then excelling at the job.